Hello, everybody. I'm Mario Linhares, and this is SIPS of Science number 16. Today, I have the pleasure of having with me, as usual, Dr. Florian Kongoli, and also a good friend from Germany, Professor Dr. Manfred Mauntz. So, first, I would like to welcome everybody. We are going to be talking about Mauntz International Symposium, named after Professor Mauntz. And to welcome everybody and speak a little bit about this from Tokyo at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, Dr. Florian Kongoli, the guy that fights and survives every jet lag I've seen, because I've never seen somebody change so much time zones. But Dr. Florian Kongoli, now it's 7 a.m. in Tokyo, right?
Yes, exactly. It's 16 degrees Celsius. It's a bit foggy. I am in the 50th floor. I see Tokyo here, but I cannot see it now. But okay, I'm here in the morning with you and Manfred.
Very good. And Professor Dr. Manfred Mauntz from Frankfurt, how are you?
Fine. It's midnight here. I don't know the temperature outside. I'm not going out and check it. And
Okay.
I closed my windows. And normally I sleep at this time. But for you guys, I stayed up a little bit longer to support the symposium. Well,
Professor Manfred, last time I saw you, we were riding a helicopter in Rio de Janeiro.
this is correct. Yeah, we had great
Correct.
fun with the helicopter ride around the Sugar Head. And
The
it
Sugarloaf.
okay. So it was really great fun. Yeah.
Well, that time we went around Rio. Now we are going around the world. You see,
Exactly.
Rio de Janeiro afternoon, Manfred midnight. I am early morning.
Well, this is fantastic. This
So
is
we are
fantastic.
flying figuratively in a helicopter around the world.
Spaceship
That's not-
Earth. We're on a
Exactly.
big spaceship Earth.
Exactly.
This is the reason why we have this symposium very soon in Thailand, and to do something, to change ideas, to change experience, and try to find new ways in the technology. And we have this new sustainable energy idea. And I hope we change a lot of ideas, we get new experience, we can change with colleagues and find new ways. And everybody is talking this day about hydrogen and sustainable in energy production. In my eyes, it leads to three energy sources. One is hydrogen, one is methane, CH4, and another one is nuclear power. So if you want to make hydrogen, you need electricity, and you need nature gas to make hydrogen. And if you don't have it, like the people are dreaming here in my country to stop the nuclear power, they will not have electricity to make the hydrogen they want and they need to run the economy.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Well,
there is, for hydrogen, there is different ways, and we want to avoid CO2. There is different kind of hydrogen. We call hydrogen green, blue, turquoise, gray, or brown. What is the difference? Hydrogen itself have no color. It's a gas. You can't see it, yeah. But to name hydrogens is different way. It has a certain reason. Let's say green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is a hydrogen where we use water, electricity, and water, and we make hydrogen, and we have no byproduct like CO2. If we do the same with gray hydrogen, we need a steam reformer to do it out of fossil energy like nature gas, CH4, like old time, coal or oil, and this produce CO2 as a waste product. So we still have CO2, nothing even, and which normally we release to the atmosphere, and this is not what we like to have. So gray hydrogen is, in comparison to green hydrogen, not climate neutral. And this is nothing new. And so what we have now learned, so it's no CO2 waste in the production of green hydrogen, but in the production of gray hydrogen, there is CO2 waste. This is not new. That's all. Is this all? Not. There are other components we have to watch in the hydro production. There are impurities in hydrogen. If you want to use hydrogen to fill cars, to fill public transportation system, like buses, like train, you have to measure the impurities in the hydrogen. This can be CO2, CO, CH4, O2, H2S, COS, NO, and so it's existing a certain standard. So there's a standard called ISO FDIS 14687-2, and this gives a kind of regulation what we should have in hydrogen, which we use to fill vehicles. And this must get measured. And just certain idea about the volume we like to have based on this standard, less than 5 ppm of water, less than 2 ppm of hydrocarbons, and I don't want to go down the whole list, it's boring for everyone, but ammoniac is another way to get hydrogen in. People are dreaming to bring it in from Australia. Ammoniac less than 0.1 ppm, and to make sure that this is inside, we have to measure. We have to measure, and to do this, we are using gas chromatography coupled, normally with a new detector we have developed in the last year with a plasma detector. And this plasma detector helps us to find out the impurities. There is other detectors in the market for analyzing the electrical parameter of isolation oil in high voltage transformer. We must make sure that these components also are running. Identification of critical operation conditions of high voltage transformer for reducing of the failure rates. And we have also online condition monitoring of gearboxes by deep analysis, electrical conductivity, and related permittivity to detect the changes of the lubricant in the gearbox of wind turbines. If we want to go 100% green, one will be wind turbines. And we must make sure that these wind turbines are running for a long time without any kind of problems. And if we have wind turbines onshore, we can only go in summertime to do inspection. In wintertime, it's very difficult. So we must make sure that this kind of system are running very stable. To do this, we need measuring systems to know what's happening.
Exactly. Now, Professor Manfred, before we can keep talking about this specifically and about the symposium that is named after you, yes, I would like to show a video about the Mauntz International Symposium, and then I would like Dr. Florian to comment an overall view of SIPS, yes, because Mauntz International Symposium on renewable energy production, renewable sustainable energy production, is part of a greater event, a bigger event, yes, called SIPS, Sustainable Industrial Processing Summit and Exhibition, that will take place from the 27th of November to the 1st of December at the Phuket Hilton Arcadia in Phuket, Thailand, yes, and we are going to be together there in person again after so long. As I said, the last time we saw each other was in Rio de Janeiro to celebrate Dr. Florian's karaoke ship. Yes.
That's correct. Yeah.
You were together with us at the city
ceremony.
council.
Yep.
Yes, at the ceremony. Yes, and we went flying around Rio de Janeiro to enjoy Rio, the beautiful view, and it was a moment to celebrate Dr. Florian's citizenship of Rio de Janeiro. So let's see this video, and right after Dr. Florian, we'd like you to talk about SIPS, an overview of SIPS, and then we are going to talk specifically about the Mauntz International Symposium. Okay. Well, we are back here, Dr. Florian. So this is the Mauntz International Symposium on Sustainable Energy Production. What about this symposium, but more specifically about SIPS? We've got 600 academic works, scientific works presented by some of the greatest minds in the world. I include Professor Mauntz in this category. Yes, and besides great scientists, and politicians and businessmen. We're going to have also some very important Nobel Prize winners, 9 Nobel Prize winners, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yes, correct.
tell us a little bit about this. We are a month and a half away. What can we...
Well, Manfred already did an enumeration of so many exciting times we are living in terms of energy. When I say exciting times, meaning challenging and opportunity times. Challenging because we see so many political decisions in the political level and the government level that have been basically a failure. But also this is an opportunity on developing new technologies, as Manfred mentioned, hydrogen. Well, we say hydrogen is just a word, but the possibilities are limitless. So you can produce hydrogen from natural gas. We have another presentation that is you can produce. They are trying to produce hydrogen from water. There are other presentations that you can do it in. As an intermediate product. So the limit is the sky. It is a very exciting time, which comes basically from a failure. We are at energy crisis, but when you are in an energy crisis, you see how many opportunities you have in front of you. If you want to take those opportunities, if you let them opportunities pass by, then too bad. It's not the way to go. Again, exciting times, but and then this is what we are planning at SIPS. Mauntz International Symposium is dedicated to Professor Manfred Mauntz, for his long time contribution. Basically all his life he has been dealing with energy, but in a specific aspect. His measuring tools and control tools, they save a lot of energy. So we're speaking about energy. There are many aspects of energy. First, you have to produce new renewable and new type of energies, hydrogen and basically wind and solar. They are not there where we should do. Although despite huge amount of money and investment from public money, from government in that field, we are not there where we should be. Basically, if I remember well from Tamer Turna, the CEO of the vice president of Bloom Energy, he mentioned that the amount of energy produced in Germany from wind and solar is about 2%, despite huge investment in the field. So the key in energy is diversification. So hydrogen, but the hydrogen is just a word. The possibilities are limitless because you can produce from water, from natural gas, etc. But also at the same time, You have to manage the current way of producing the energy. You cannot jump like a child. Okay, I don't like these classical energies anymore. I want to shut them down and then be in a crisis like the Europe and most of the world is experiencing today because of the bad decisions of some politicians and basically, sorry, although it's politicians, politics is a tricky business. You are under pressure from different groups, but sometimes and you lose the perspective and you lose the common sense. So basically, to be sustainable, I'm going to sustainability now. To be sustainable, you have to manage all of existing forms of energy. And basically, this is also one of the we are on the same page with Manfred also, because it's Manfred is in measuring the energy, in the saving energy from different industrial processes. We are in controlling the reactor and through in order to save the energy, in order to minimize the pollution, and also to develop new technologies that are fully sustainable. But at the same time, you have to manage what you have properly, sustainably, and you have to develop new technologies. If you don't do that, you have a crisis. That's why we are in a crisis now. That's why if they would have heard that, we had this symposium since 7 years now, sustainable industrial energy production. But what is sustainable? We are covering all types of energy. We're covering from oil, from wind, from hydro, so you name it. All type of energies are together, and with a purpose for a synergy to see what is one how can we use the old one and improve temporary if you want to go 100% to renewable. But the other way it is that you can still use, although there are limited possibilities, but if you are able to recycle and if you are able to capture the CO2, the old energy production means are pretty good in terms of environment. So as long as you don't pollute, but also as long as you recycle in order not to deplete the resources. But the resources now are not only limited in Earth. You can go in different meteorites and different planets and to extract resources. So there are so many ways to be sustainable. So it's not just a one way, and that's what SIPS is about. Manfred products deal with many of those. So today, the easiest thing to do is saving energy. If you bring down the utilization of energy from any sources to 50% by controlling things properly in any processes, you are basically you are doing a contribution to the sustainable world. So there are many ways, and reducing your mind only in one direction, like for example only wind, that's not the way to go. Because now we see it doesn't protect, it doesn't give us solutions. So SIPS again is about this. That's why we are bringing all type of energy together and creating the energy: solar, wind, oil, fossil, carbon, etc. I remember not this visit. This is my second visit in Japan in October. I was in August also, and we have an interview with Professor Usui as part of Artists of Science. He is a worldwide expert in iron production in Japan, and he mentioned something that we'll be showing. But he mentioned that producing iron with just pure hydrogen, and he has worked on this field 30 years ago. It looks like a new field, but he has worked on that. And 30 years ago, he said that producing iron through hydrogen also is not a good idea. So basically, he's against the way that some of the fashion is going today. And there is a reason for that. Because when you produce iron, with the actual means using carbon, the key in producing iron is the percentage of the key in producing iron, the percentage of carbon in iron is a key. Why? Because a few percentage of carbon decreases the melting point of iron, let's say by 500 degrees. almost like that. We can see the exact numbers. So this makes possible producing iron with a lot or less of energy. So carbon is bad for CO2, but in this stage is huge, helping to decrease the energy when producing iron. Iron is a very energy consuming process. So if you want to use pure water hydrogen, you'll have pure iron. The melting point is 500 degrees more. So you have to have it higher need of energy, which is not sustainable. So, and we knew this. According to this is not a good idea. So the other way around is to use, like was doing in Brazil, by the way, they are using a charcoal, and they have a zero balance. They renew the forest. They use the forest as charcoal instead of producing coke. So there is a zero balance of CO2 production. So there are numerous ways of doing this.
And also, when you plant the forest that is going to be to produce the wood, when you before seeding, before the plantation and the harvest, all the oxygen that is produced in the chain neutralizes the carbon that is exposed. I mean, exactly. I was impressed when I heard that.
Yeah, so it's different, but this is Brazil is a pioneer on this. They are using it for several years. We have many projects in Brazil, and we are trying to optimize and control all this. But my point is, all these are ways to be sustainable. It's not just one way. And if you close your eyes and see only one direction, it is you go nowhere. And this SIPS, that's Mauntz International Symposium, all energies are there. It's creating synergies, making comparison, and trying to use the best opportunities and the best advantage of each energy in one at the other. So it is a 360 degrees, a mini 360 degrees in a energy level. But SIPS in itself, it's a 360 degrees because as covers all the fields. We start from geology to mining to mineral processing to extracting, refining, developing new materials, nanomaterials, intelligent materials, the technologies in medicine, law in sustainable processes. So you name it, everything is there. It's like sending an astronaut in a different planet. You have to take care of all this. You cannot divide. Okay, I like this field. I'm going to deal only with this field. I forget the others. So it is just so everything is based on Flogen sustainability framework, the whole SIPS. And then I'm going to integrate Professor Mauntz there in the SEMA and how it helps. Just a quick overview because I like to make it. This is our definition. We have done this definition and invented it in 2015. It was published in 2016 because of the need. There was huge confusion in literature and in speaking around sustainability. Everybody was speaking or was saying. Everybody has something dear in his life, so they want to put it in terms of sustainability: the government role, the indigenous rights, the culture, the languages, you name it, the human rights. Everybody was putting there in a basket, so everything was there: pear, apples, and nobody was had a clear idea what sustainability is about. So that's why there was no distinction between who are the actors, who are the criteria, who are the pillars, who hinders, and who helps sustainability. That's why we made a very simple presentation, but it's all inclusive, it includes the whole thing. As you see there are three criteria. First, you have to assure economic growth. Second, you have to assure in social advancement, social quality of life, and the third is protect the environment. So if you deal only with the environment and do not deal with the others, you are not sustainable. Any of those three criteria is missing, you are not sustainable. You have to simultaneously have to fulfill those. Economic growth, Manfred specialty in his company helps in that direction also. And saving energy helps in that direction also with his instruments of saving energy in various industrial processes which are energy intensive. But on the other side, we have to protect the environment. And instruments that CMC Instruments have developed, they go in that direction also in protecting the environment, because if you save CO2, if you save energy, you save CO2, etc. So you go in the same direction. So and also you have to improve quality of human life. So if you protect the environment, forget about quality of human life, we're nowhere. And this is what you see sometimes: only environment and no growth, no quality of life. So you are a miserable human person, and then you take care about the environment, which doesn't send you anywhere. I remember a professor in India about 7 years ago. For her, she said that the only way to be sustainable is to turn back 800 years and to be in peace with the environment. So
now, Dr. Florian, this is something that you've always talked about. Like the most sustainable thing would be committing suicide. Everybody committing suicide, according to some environmentalists.
No, it's an author. It's a book. It's a book published in 2018 in the United States. So his conclusion is, we are doomed. Now what? So his conclusion is to protect the world. We have no more choices just to kill ourselves, because this way we cannot pollute. We cannot produce CO2. We don't have children. So the planet is happy, but who cares for human beings? So let's kill ourselves, everything, and then we are okay. We save the planet. No, it's true. It's a book. That's the conclusion of the book. So this is not sustainable. So although they are saying, okay, but this is it's science and technology, and you saw the pillars there, because Manfred is actually one. It falls in all those three pillars. Manfred, in his activity, is using science and technology, developing new methods and techniques to measure and save energy. So basically, he's a science and technology developer, new technology developer, which saves energy and improves the efficiency of energy processes. But at the same time, the second pillar is governance and management. So governance is a political government, but management is in a level of company. He's the CEO of a private company, so he has to manage his company sustainably. Sustainably means according to these three criteria that you mentioned. But at the same time, he falls at the education in the other pillar, because he is involved in education in university of a young generation in science and technology. So basically, Manfred is somehow he has one part of him is all these three pillars. So this is the framework of SIPS, and actually 360 degrees, but also the energy that we spoke about and Manfred spoke about is 360 degrees. So there are exciting times. There is a crisis time, and this is because of politicians that forgot science and technology. That's a different story, but it's an opportunity for science and technology. Without catch this opportunity, that if you would have heard us of this symposium 7 years ago, we wouldn't have this crisis that we have today. So that's I leave it up to probably to Manfred to speak about this in a different point of view.
Okay, well, let's talk about Mauntz International Symposium. And I'm going to point out some of the things that we're going to be talking about. And then I would like to hear comments about what we should expect there. The symposium will touch and debate energy and sustainability, as Dr. Florian said. And we're going to talk about global prime energy consumption, energy efficiency, entropy and exergy, energy and cost optimization, mega trends, decarbonization, decentralization, digitalization, the world in its comeback on climate change, transformation of the energy utilization methods, climate change, energy dependence, and we see this crisis now, wildfires and their impact on climate change, predictive operation, key minerals for battery storage, success stories on transition period, related technologies and projects, and many more. There are a list of 17 topics here, yes? And it talks about, the 16th says, 100% renewable energy. Is this transformation for real or fantasy? And I leave this answer to you, Professor Manfred Mauntz.
Okay, well, this is a very difficult question. I remember we had this wonderful hydrogen seminar in Brasilia for maybe 5-6 years ago, and where we discussed very intensive to use hydrogen as an energy source. And now 6-7 years ago, in our political area, in our technology, people don't get forward. They're still on a step for 6-7-8 years ago. Sometimes the feelings they did nothing in the last year. So this kind of step sometimes very slow, but 100% renewable energy. Okay, I would say it's like if you don't have a dream and if you don't go behind it, you will never touch it. Okay, so I would say see it sportive, see it as an engineer, and look and do your very best. We all have very excellent education, so we should work on it, and maybe we get close to it. And if we get close to 90%, it's better as what we do today. And if we achieve 90%, maybe we have a good chance to make the rest of 10%. So that is what I believe. I hope we achieve 100%, but it's a long way to go.
Okay, and Dr. Florian, let me go back here with the everybody in the same screen. Dr. Florian, you said the importance. You don't talk about one SIPS, and this symposium doesn't talk about one kind of energy. Even the name of the symposium is Mauntz International Symposium on Sustainable Energy Production, Fossil, Renewables, Nuclear, Waste Handling, Processing, and Storage for all energy production technologies, and energy conservation. Now, a question for both of you. Europe and the world is going through the potential crisis of the century, let's call it. For one century, the risk of having like shortage of electricity and industrial production going down and the homes being without heating during the winter, this is a real possibility. And the thing is, some years ago, Germany, for example, that we are talking about Germany, prohibited nuclear energy. I mean, a consequence. They closed all the reactors. A great deal due to Chernobyl. Yes, Chernobyl. Then I think
no, it was not Chernobyl. It was in Japan. So
in Japan,
we had this tsunami, and this tsunami killed a few the nuclear power station, and in Germany. The political decision was we go down for nuclear power station. It might be too risky.
No, but the question, perfect, and thank you for correcting me. I don't know what Chernobyl was 40 years ago.
Chernobyl was that, but that's one of the. Actually, it's not wrong because they were referring to both of them, Chernobyl and Fukushima.
Okay, but the question is, was this a correct decision? Or are we paying the price for this wrong decision if it was wrong? And is nuclear energy safe enough? And how can we fight, for example, because you have, as you mentioned, Dr. Florian, and Dr. Tamir Turna, that was your last program, that is the co-chair of this symposium too. We're mentioning about two things: the risk of an accident, like Fukushima, like you said, because of and also the waste. Yes. So let's start with Dr. Florian. How can science and technology solve these problems? And would it be a solution in short or longer term? I don't know.
Well, there are two factors. So nuclear energy is basically clean energy. It's a clean energy. The only two factors that made the political class decided to close them down completely were risk, as Manfred mentioned, because of Fukushima, and waste processing and waste, so nuclear waste. So these are two things. But this was, and this is very discouraging to hear because The only prime minister in the world that was coming, not in the world, but one of the 2 or 3 prime ministers in the world was coming with a scientific background was Angela Merkel. But apparently she was, through political pressure and because of compromises, etc. Then many, Manfred knows better of this, but we're looking from outside. So anywhere they decided to close down the nuclear reactor. Nuclear reactor are producing energy, and it's safe, but because of the risk and because of the waste. Risk and waste is science and technology dealing with. You cannot close. Tell me an industrial process in any company. We have projects around the world. We're not as part of this, but as our part of high-tech company. So in any process, there is a risk, and there is a plan to minimize that risk. So in any particular, you name it. So if there is a risk, this is not a reason to close down the entire process. So if you touch electricity, again, I'm repeating it, if you touch electricity, you are dead. Does it mean that we have to not to use electricity anymore? No, it's science that makes it safe. So anyway, but political, pressure sometimes is so big, and the decisions are taken, not based on common sense and a sustainable analysis. Sustainable analysis is very important. So then we have a crisis today. Okay, well, then we have a crisis today. You can say, okay, well, we are based on the in energy, okay, on science. Okay, what is science? It's giving some data from Chernobyl and from Fukushima. But Fukushima was an earthquake. Germany is not an earthquake zone, at least not as it is right now. But in any case, even in Fukushima, there. By the way, in Germany, in Japan, although that we had Fukushima, there are no nuclear reactors being closed like the Germany did. So they continued because science improves the safety and improves the waste processing in a sustainable way. And on top of that, closing down nuclear reactors and then importing energy for fossil fuels from other countries. You're just fooling. We are fooling ourselves because we are importing CO2 from different. So when we say CO2 pollution, that it doesn't stop at the border. If you import it, the CO2 is there. The total global CO2 pollution, it is the same thing. And at the other side, France is increasing the number of nuclear reactors. So okay, well, I'm closing it. I'm using only wind. I'm importing natural gas, and I import nuclear energy from France because I want to be to locally to decrease CO2 and to be safe. But if something happens in France in one of the reactors, Germany is already gone. So it doesn't make sense. This is political decisions are short-sighted. It doesn't make sense because they do not hear us, scientists. Because this is where if you hear us, if you use what method Professor Mauntz technology and instrument that he has developed over the years to minimize things and so on, to make things safer. This is, if they have heard our symposium long ago, we have already mentioned this. We have a Harold Dahl. This is one of our co-chairs. By the way, he was not available today, but because he had an activity, but we can also include him other times. He, from the beginning 7 years ago, his only presentation has been nuclear comparison with other tools, and nobody heard him. And that's, so you can hear, you do lip service to science. We made the decision based on science, but then you forget the science as a solution provider. And that's what happens. So it's true there is a risk. It comes from data from science. That's true that the waste is not sustainable because it comes from data from science. But there was a solution to close them down. This is not we have a crisis today. The solution is to come to scientists and make them safer, reduce CO2 pollution and waste processing. So This is my take on it, but I am from outside. Manfred knows better this. He can much better actually, because he's from the inside. He's but this is SIPS. So we treat all these things. Have been treating this for 7 years. Nuclear energy has been our part of symposium forever. Compared with other energy in a green, in a clean energy aspect, but they didn't look at this. Manfred can have a different view on this, probably a better than mine, because he's an actor from inside.
Yeah, let's hear Professor Manfred. What do you think about it?
My eyes, the biggest problem we have with nuclear power stations is the waste. What we're doing with the waste. So, if we find some people who have great ideas that we can handle different, that we can take the danger out of the waste, it would change the whole picture. And what we have seen this year in summertime, and maybe you remember, we had in summertime for a long period, beautiful summer, we had no rain. The water falls down in European river. And what was the consequence? In France, they have to turn down the nuclear power station. They don't have enough water to cool the power station and make electricity. So we get faced with a new problem. And at the same time, China announced they will build 60 new power stations. And if we take off 3 or 4 power stations in Germany, in comparison to 60 new power stations in China, and we
mean coal power station, coal or nuclear?
Nuclear, 60 nuclear.
Nuclear, good.
And I learned this from a SIP conference 4 years ago. And
years ago.
Yes, I remember SIP. And so they also have a waste problem. Maybe we find new technology to handle the nuclear power different. But this is also future, and we had in the past a lot of unhappy things. People get sick around nuclear power station. I remember cases in England, and so let's say like it. We need the energy, but so really comfortable for the waste of the nuclear power station, I don't feel. And this waste needs centuries before it becomes inactive and we can touch it. And this is a problem, and we have to understand that people are afraid of it. We have to respect the feeling of people in the neighborhood of nuclear power station, in the neighborhood of waste deposit. We have to understand it, and we have to talk to these people, and we don't have to do it. These are human people like you and me, and
correct, yes.
They have the same respect like you and me, and we should respect this.
Sure. Yeah, this is the point. That this is quality of human lives is part of the criteria of sustainability. I mentioned economic development that nuclear energy brings, quality of human life. So we don't have human lives should not have a risk and have a normal life. At the same time, you have to protect the environment from the waste. So we are exactly on the same page. The issue is how to achieve it. So, if you bring scientists and bring technologies together and to first, if it is a long term to deal with the waste, is save deposit of the waste, but it's a huge possibility. It's a huge possibility for research to treat the nuclear waste. For example, we don't have the technology now, but you can develop new technology, make it safer first from the earthquakes, and isolate the issues of contamination. So I think science and technology can do it. But sure, you have to respect the feeling, because this is part of sustainability, quality of human life, as I mentioned. If people do not feel safe, it's not a good quality of human life. So it's risky, healthy, risky. But at the same time, if those local people, if the local people, and have a concern, that's fine. The problem is if they are in the border of France and something nuclear happened, because of the way it's in France, because something blows up in France, the risk is the same.
Belgium
is increasing the nuclear. Exactly.
Well, is close to Aachen, is close at the German border, and how far I remember, this nuclear power station had a lot of friendly information, and this is close to the German border, and the people in Aachen, believe me, they're very close to it.
Yeah. So it's a multi countries fight against all these things. You cannot say in my home I have to be clean, but the moment I get outside I become dirty.
Yeah, it's a little complex, but we're going to talk more about this for sure from the 27th of April to the 1st of November to the 1st of December at SIPS.
But in SIPS, it is real data comparison, real
exactly.
Science, real technology.
This is scientific approach.
Only the tip of the iceberg we're speaking.
Exactly. This is only a teaser. It's only for the ones who are watching us to feel like going to SIPS, and it's really worth it. Yes, and this and other debates are going to be held, and I'm going to ask more to talk more about this. But before, I want to mention it's basically a trademark of SIPS. I always say that P of SIPS stands for paradise, and Professor Manfred has gone to many SIPS. I think you've told like 6 or 7 editions of SIPS, isn't it? And all of them in fantastic, beautiful paradises like Rio de Janeiro, Cancun, Paphos, and beautiful places. And now we are going to have in a month and a half, we are going to see another paradise. So before we continue, let's take a look at this video here. We'll be back in a minute. Well, as you said there, you can have all the information about SIPS at flogen.org/SIPS 2022. And you're going to have all the links here in the description of this video. And if you are enjoying this chat today, I would invite you to subscribe to the channels. This is a joint production between TV Onda Azul and Flogen Star Outreach. So subscribe to the channel, mark your thumbs up and the bell icons to be notified when we have another broadcast every Thursday at 10 p.m. GMT. And this will vary wherever you are. For example, Dr. Florian started this broadcast at 7 a.m., Professor Manfred at midnight, and I in Rio de Janeiro at 7 p.m. So depending on where you are in the world, it's going to be always 10 p.m. GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. But continuing here, Professor...
Just to add what you said, it's like the 3 satellites going around the world. Japan, exactly. Germany, Rio de Janeiro, three angles.
3 time zones, 3 different continents, but the same spaceship Earth. Well, exactly. Let's continue. Professor Manfred, Imagine I'm watching this video now. Yes, I say, wow, very, very interesting. Not only SIPS, but specifically Mauntz International Symposium. What are we going to find there? What can we expect from this symposium? Who are we going to meet there? What about the presentations? How can we improve the sustainability through the symposium?
Well, let's say like it. I joined a lot of SIPS conferences around the world, and the location was all times very interesting. And I remember we had the conference down in Cyprus, and I looked from my room outside, and I joined the blue sky, and I have seen the beach. But I went in different kind of sessions, and I said, for me, and this will be also for me for the next SIP in Thailand, is what I liked and what get me forward and get me new ideas and help me to think. It opens my mind and it gets me forward. It was a high level of discussion with scientists, business executive. The synergy of material science and industrial processes, networking, and socializing with market frontiers, and market frontiers changing from time to time. And this will be also in my seminar in Thailand. And this is what I all times joined for me. For me, it was like, let's see, for me, the beach and the blue sky was not so interesting, but what we get on science, information, the Nobelist, all this information, the presentation, it was for me like a little boy to go in a toy shop. And it was absolutely crazy for me as a scientist.
Interesting, very interesting. And Dr. Florian.
This is, yeah, well, just to build up a little bit of what Manfred said, because that's a key point of SIPS. And what Manfred is saying, and he's the one that has participated in all SIPS, almost only the few ones in the beginning. But so when Professor Mauntz feels this way by participating in almost all SIPS, so he never stops attending one since the first time. So you imagine, why you need to be there and why you have to try. And once you start participating, then you never stop, and then you feel like Manfred he just said.
Very good, very good. Now let's talk a little bit about. We've been talking about this technologies, about energy and all that, and Dr. Florian usually says that if you want to send an astronaut live in another planet, you need this 360-degree approach. You have to think about materials, you have to think about energy, you have to think about the legal aspects, about the medical aspects, about everything. And we go further, yes, that the world is one. So we divided, as you said already, Dr. Florian, we divided science in many categories, in many fields, but nature is one. Yes. How is this? It's almost a holistic approach. I mean, you see all the aspects of integration of science. You don't see as a single aspect. How does this work exactly? What was the conception of this?
That's kind of holistic. I don't like too much the word holistic, but it's life. It's how the life it is. You have to take care of all the aspects of life in order to be successful. This synergy that Mauntz mentioned, Professor Mauntz mentioned, is very important. For example, just a very down to earth example. All the instruments that Professor Mauntz company produces they are applicable in almost all industries. So they are applicable in mining, in cement production, they are applicable in various oil production, in wind production, you name it. So all this. So for example, I mentioned I mentioned hydrogen in iron and steel. So there we need the energy. Energy is applicable there. Energy is not an abstract concept. It has to be applied everywhere. It has to be produced through practical means, but also has to be used in practical areas and in different energies. So, but you have this all in the same roof. So somebody from, I don't know, from cement production saying, "Whoop, I see some good value in these instruments because it's saving me 30% of the energy." There it is in the same roof. But many people are not aware of it. But being in the same roof, you are aware, you see, go from one room to the other and to see the development and see how you can use this, how you can use mathematic modeling, for example, to have a mathematics session, how you can use it in our modeling in new instruments, for example. Might be useful for Manfred also, developing new instruments. So this is the synergies. You have everything in the same roof. Again, on the other side, all instruments produced by CMC Instruments are applied everywhere. You name it. So everything is in the same roof. So it could be as long as the energy is safe. So even in what is interesting here, and this is very interesting also of CMC Instrument, if I understand it, and Manfred can correct me. It is a useful. The instruments are useful tools. Control tools saving energy in the classical energy production, oil, gas, coal, but also in the renewable like wind. So because everywhere that you have moving machine parts, and moving machine parts, they can fail all the time, and the prediction of failure, it saves huge energy. So having these instruments, you basically you make the so-called existing oil and fossil fuel energies you make sustainable because you decrease the energy and increase the efficiency, but also you are helping the renewable energy. So this is just an example came to my mind, just to apply this 360 degrees. And this is what it is. If you understand that. We don't think this way because we live in planet Earth, and sometimes I deal only with law. But the law is not applied in a vacuum. Law is applied in industry, is applied in academics, in fields, in patents, etc. So Manfred knows very well that he needs lawyers. Lawyers, and on the other side, needs very badly Manfred and his company. So they need us. So it's not who needs the other. I mean, how we can work together and help each other. So everybody is needed. Everybody is needed. So that's why we have all in one roof. And there are two levels here. In the energy symposium, we have everything 360 degrees energies, but at the level of SIPS, we have 360 degrees of all the technologies, field of science, and everything. So and this is because you mentioned, but you passed it. Manfred said, okay, every day, and this was a good point actually. Every day he opens the window and see a blue sky and the beach, and then he has to have breakfast and go to the technical sessions.
and Professor Manfred, you're not the first person that I hear this from. We have a very good friend, Dr. João Ricardo. He went to Cyprus, and he told me before. Yes, he was honored there. He received. He was the first Brazilian to receive a prize from a Nobel Prize winner. Yes, Nobel laureate. And he told me before he went. I said, "Oh, I've always dreamed in knowing Paphos. Yes, because it's a beautiful spot by the Mediterranean." And when he came back, I couldn't go because I had a medical condition. I couldn't go to Cyprus. But when he came back, we had lunch together. And he said, "Mario, although the weather was fantastic, I didn't have time to go one single time to the beach." Yes. Yes, Professor.
let's say like it. I don't want to have sand in my shoes. I want to get new ideas in my brain from my colleagues who are at the symposium.
Yeah.
Now, one thing is,
but just about to make a point.
yeah,
That
no,
is
let me
not
just ask
un-
Dr. Florian,
Yes.
because this is what I want to know from you. How much easier is it to do this in paradise than in a laboratory, for example?
So telepathy. I was just saying that.
Oh,
So
yes.
you are asking the same thing.
That's
Okay.
a environment. You look outside, beautiful sky, beautiful climates, very nice food, and all these kind of things. This gives you a kind of motivation, and you are away from your usual work. And no one is coming in and said, "Hey, I have a problem. The car park is dirty or whatever." And so this also stimulates and this also helps. And this gives you a motivation to go in a session and listen. And after the session is over, you're sitting maybe on a terrace and have a cup of coffee and look to the beach, and you're looking in your booklet for the next presentation. You like to go, and you're heavily motivated to go. It gives you lightness to work. It gives you lightness to move. It makes your brain empty. So you don't have your everyday load which you have in your laboratory. People are coming in, you have to manage this or that, and the door is not going, water is not running, someone else has a problem. This is far away. So it's very, very easy to go in. And this is what counts for me. And I spoke to other scientists, and they had a similar feeling. Yeah, I spoke to scientists and said, "When you're down to the beach," and they said, "Beach? Oh yes, the beach." I said, "Yeah, no. I go to this, and that session is more exciting." Yeah.
Now, well, I want to show before we go to our final considerations. We've been talking for over an hour, and this was we don't even feel the time pass by. But I would like to show where we are going to have SIPS. I showed you Thailand, and now we are going to see the venue. Yes, Phuket Arcadia, Hilton Phuket Arcadia. So
this is what
Dr.
Manfred
Florian
said. Also, emptying
Sorry?
your brain. That's exactly. It was a very good, coincidence, because that was Manfred was saying. Emptying your brain from their daily routine.
Right.
And
Cool.
Correct.
Yeah. So you turn off your daily problems, your daily work you have to do, your daily management. You are free and you can concentrate on a session. You can go to different session. And I remember I went to session. I would never do it normally, and I would never have a chance to do it normally in my life. It's a little bit like I remember my first time in university. You are free. You go to different sessions to listen to different professors, and you said, "Oh, this is fantastic! I never had an idea." And you feel the scientific touch. This is good.
Professor Manfred, you know that what impresses me more about SIPS. I mean, I'm not a scientist, as you know, I'm a journalist, and I've had this opportunity of meeting and talking more to scientists for the past 5 years since I met Dr. Florian for the first time. Yes, before that, probably I talked to 2 or 3 scientists only in my life. Now I think I've interviewed over 50, so I'm getting more into science now. But the thing that amazes me the most is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Florian, no other event in the world you can watch plenary sessions with 9 Nobel laureates. I mean, it's the highest concentration of Nobel laureates in the world. And me, as a kid I'm Brazilian. In Germany, you have dozens of Nobel laureates. In Canada, where Dr. Florian lives, in Japan, where he is, more than dozens. I don't know how many. In Brazil, we've never had a Nobel laureate. So meeting in person and talking and interviewing and having a cup of coffee with a Nobel laureate is something that it's unique. Yes. For me, who am not a scientist, I imagine for you, who is a scientist, being able to exchange ideas. Sometimes you just need a little push to finish that equation that will finalize all your, maybe a lifetime of experiments and of a project. And then you have coffee with a Nobel laureate and bingo, that's it. Am I exaggerating, Dr. Florian, or is this real?
No. We are actually they have edited a short video, which I was supposed to look at it, and I didn't have time, about exactly this social event at SIPS. It looks perfect. Not only having a sip of coffee with Nobel laureates, but also swimming in the same pool with them.
As a matter of fact, sorry to interrupt you, I think I was the first journalist to interview a Nobel laureate in swimming trunks in Rio de Janeiro. Yeah. I looked all over magazines and televisions all over the world. I think it was the first one.
No. And also, we have included that portion, by the way.
Thank you.
But it's not. I think it's almost ready. Just because I didn't have time to look at it, since I'm here in Japan, very busy. So basically, I slept last night at 2 a.m. after having a meeting with my staff. Meaning it's 11 p.m. here. It is 10 a.m. there. So we had about 1 hour and a half meeting. So with all these things. So, and then I didn't have time but that portion that you mentioned is included there. Not only that, is included also the interview with Professor Wosterich on the beach when he was dancing with his wife without shoes. So this is included there also. And I think it's included, they are doing a good job trying to, but sometimes we discuss, it's also the professor from Norway, where she said all this comes very inexpensive to see what is included in SIPS. It becomes very inexpensive in the fees and everything else. So you really do not need, you don't need to spend too much to have all this luxury, because we have a good way to do deals with hotels. So, for example, as you saw in the video there, so it's a 5-star hotel by the beach, and it's a resort spa. And we have assured a very low rate, about 115 euros. 115 euros per night, including
everything included.
Well, there are 2 things, just not to confuse. So it's 115 euros per night for the hotel, include breakfast, taxis, fees, and everything.
Okay, sorry.
But the fees of the Congress is only one fee. And then they include all. They include lunches, dinners, shows every single day. So basically, you have to pay only for the 3 days of the hotel at minimum. Many people stay longer. Or basically with the fee and the hotel, and you pay nothing if you don't want to spend. So everything is included. You don't need to count the money. And this one registration fees is covered by most companies and universities. Because, normally universities, not companies different story. Universities do not pay for food. I do not know, it's something, it comes from, myths of the past, for some university professors, they pay only the hotel, but not the food. They pay by themselves, lunch by themselves. Here, basically, lunch and dinner is free. They pay only for registration fee. So this is a new concept that we have been doing. Not new. It's not new anymore, but it's new for others, because we're giving opportunity to people to enjoy. Normally, scientists is different when you have business and you like Manfred and there's different companies and you are both academic. But if you are only scientists, there are limits at the university level. How much you have to spend for the hotel, how much you spend for food, etc., etc. They cover. Sometimes they don't cover food at all. So these are the paradoxes of science. The scientists are the ones that develop the society, and then they face these barriers. I'm not mentioning the name, for example, but some scientists from a European country, not far from Germany, developed one that said that the university doesn't allow us to spend 115 euros per night in the hotel. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's incredible.
So
that way, everything included. And before we go to the final considerations, Dr. Florian, in 1 minute, I'm a scientist. I watched this video and I said, wow, I would love to be at SIPS. Is there time to
sure, exceptionally,
submit,
we are still accepting papers. People are free to join. They do not need the invitation, but we can send the invitation if they need. Just feel free to ask to send us an email. We're going to send the invitation. We can do anything, to make their life easier. This is a gift for science engineers that always work like horses, but they are treated like mouses, as I always say. And this is background that Mauntz mentioned. Sure, that people do not have time to go to the beach, and because of this, it's a competition, a healthy competition between science and nature. But at the same time, they help each other, because if we are in this area, in this kind of magnificent places, you get inspired, you get incentive, new ideas come, new projects come, ideas come, new multi-country and multi-dimension, multi-field are being every year developed at SIPS. And then we give people 5 days before, 5 days after, if they want to stay for vacation, to enjoy, because they're traveling so far, and they can combine the science and then have some. The longest person that has booked the hotel, the person that has booked the longest period, like now, it is a previous American Society president. Basically, he's staying there almost 3 weeks.
Wow.
So we are struggling to lower, because with the hotel, the deal is up to 5 days before, up to 5 days after. We give them the same special price. So now we are asking the hotel to do an exception, to give a special price for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and just I know that most scientists won't have time to go to the beach, but if you do, yes,
but you can combine with your vacation.
Yeah,
you can combine with your vacation.
Yeah, combine it, because in Thailand, from end of November, late November, early December, yes, the temperature of the water is 27 degrees average. So you're going to get, you're going to get a beautiful weather, beautiful water temperature. So it's worth it. Get some days off and enjoy all the mental production. Is going to be very, very. But let's go to our final considerations. Dr. Manfred Mauntz, Professor Dr. Manfred Mauntz. It was a pleasure seeing you again, talking to you again. And I hope we can have a cup of coffee at a coffee break when we are at Phuket Hilton Arcadia.
Or a wine during dinner.
Well, wine for sure. Yes,
dinner.
Wine for sure. But
so that is on the beach.
I mean a cup of coffee and a new interview there.
Yeah. You remember, I'm coming from the Palatine area, and all my forefathers are making wine, and I became an engineer So, so asked me why, and I said it's more exciting, Daddy, instead of making wine.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Dr.
Florian.
we have. Oh, yeah, sure. Yes, please.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay. No, we have Manfred is also. We have an Artist of Science episode about Manfred, and then we recorded
it was
this together
filmed in Rio, right?
in Rio de Janeiro. So if you have this, you can show some part of it. Yes. So Manfred is coming, as you said, from a family that used to be able to produce wine. So he took the entrepreneurship spirit from his family, but he applied this in science. And then
one day we have to make a program about the art of science, talking about wine, because there's a lot of science in wine. Yes, yeah. Of course, not here at SIPS of Science. We have to talk about the science of wine. And I would like to have Professor Manfred Mauntz with us. Yes, Professor.
If you want to buy a really good, excellent white wine Riesling in Germany, you go to my buddy Philipp Kuhn, and he has all my vineyards. He worked with my vineyards. I give it to him, and he makes the best Riesling wine and the best wine you can think about in Germany. It's the best, buddy. I guarantee you.
Very good. Very good.
Last time when I was in Germany, I think I tried that. Or
yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Well, when I left Germany, and I received a WhatsApp from Manfred because they were traveling and then making a wine tasting. Basically, he tasted about, I don't know, it was a list so long, he tasted about 30 different wines.
Wow, 30. I envy you. I have to go. So I have to visit you so you can take me there to the
I
vineyard.
have the list.
Yeah.
Wow. Basically, white, right? Riesling.
Yes, white wine is more the wine in my area. And the red wine is more in France and other area, but Germany is more a white wine area. They have some red wine, some are very good, some respectable, but I start drinking wine after I become 23, 24, and we had only white wine at home, so I became a white wine drinker.
Good. Well, Professor Manfred, thank you very much for your participation today. Yes, it was an honor. And Dr. Florian also was a great honor. We are going to finish this video showing another.
Just 2 seconds. Just saying.
Okay, go ahead.
Manfred, Professor Mauntz, is a veteran of SIPS. He has been in almost all of them. Okay, and we have here someone that is, is almost at the same age of SIPS. So we can, he is a witness of growing of SIPS all over the world, and by participating there, it's good to hear him speaking so passionately about SIPS, and that makes us really give some incentive to continue. You see, I slept at 2 a.m., 2:30 actually. I woke up at 6 because doing this, and it's worth it when you hear Manfred speaking about this. So we feel very good, and we can continue this way, and we'll bring many more people at SIPS.
Very good. Yes, Professor.
You just explained a little bit before. Okay, SIPS, we go to Thailand, we have to pay hotel, we have to pay food. But if you're working
not the food. If you don't want all the registration fee, food is included.
If you work as a scientist and you need information and you go for new education, you go to seminars, you go to conferences, to share your ideas, to take new ideas from other scientists in. And I can tell you, in SIPS, for what you pay and what you get on information, on new ideas. So if you compare the price to stay, if you calculate the price for the hotel and what you get on new information, it's absolutely cheap. It's pennies. It's pennies comparison what you get if you do it another way, if you're shopping around on other seminars, if you go to universities, if you go to your local engineering club or whatever, it's pennies in comparison to it.
So it's much more than your money's worth, right? It is. And I'm going to tell us, I don't know, probably Professor Manfred doesn't know, but just to finish. Of course, I met Dr. Florian a year before SIPS Rio de Janeiro. So but at SIPS, when I arrived at SIPS Rio in 2018, I went to the restaurant of Alton Palace to have breakfast with Dr. Florian. And I was waiting for Dr. Florian. Professor Manfred arrived. So technically, Professor, I never told you this. You are the first scientist to participate at SIPS that I had the opportunity of having coffee with. So the first talk, and I learned a lot. I never thanked you for that because I learned a lot about the atmosphere of SIPS before talking.
Yeah, we were at the top floor. I think I remember that we were on the top floor of
exactly. But he arrived before you because you were
Yes,
I don't remember the context of the situation, but
I was late.
I remember that I talked to him for like 15 minutes before you arrived.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was very important for me. It was so. I thank you very much for this.
Well, always, Manfred is always it's very nice to speak with my friend Manfred because he's also an entrepreneur, because he's also a scientist, because also he's also the teaching, and this is a rare combination and makes you Manfred is always special. It's good to have wine with. We're gonna set up a wine session in Phuket.
Very good. Well, it's a deal. Yes. Let's see in Phuket.
And he's a very busy. By the way, sorry to interrupt again, but he is a very busy person.
Yeah, I know that.
We had a hard time also.
It was a hard time getting this interview, and it was only possible because it was midnight his time.
Well, I was in Montreal, and then I came in Japan, so I couldn't do it before 7. To do live is even more challenging, but we did it. So and he's a very, very busy man. But sometimes when people are not interesting speaking and staying with and having wine with, because they think all in one direction. But sustainability is at Manfred. He has all those 3 pillars.
we talked about hydrogen, electricity, renewable energy, and I give you a very nice example. If I go to SIPS and I go into SIPS, I'm like an electrical car with low batteries, and in a few days my batteries get fully charged. I come out with full power, and I have new views, and I go around. I can talk to new people. I find new application. I find new scientific ideas. I find new markets, and I find new ideas. So what we have to do today, we have to find a way to turn the energy around to get renewable energy. And it's our job as scientists not to give up. It's our job as scientists to find a way and use our brains. And this is, goddammit, exciting.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to, after this, there's no better way of ending this, ending tonight's show.
Yes.
And I would like to thank you very much for watching this. Yeah, I would like to thank everybody for watching it live or on demand later. Yes, and it was a pleasure having you. Just a reminder, every Thursday at 10 p.m. GMT, we are going to be here talking about the Sustainable Industrial Processing Summit and Exhibition, Sustainability Through Science and Exhibition. SIPS 2022 that will take place from the 27th of November to the 1st of December in Phuket, Hilton Phuket Arcadia in Phuket, Thailand. I'll be there with you guys, and I'll be here again next week. And I would like to, before we end, I just want to show a video, and right after that, we are going to call it off. We are going away. It's about why executives CEOs need to be at SIPS. and talking
And by
to
the
two
way,
CEOs.
Manfred is there. Manfred
Yeah,
is part
exactly.
of that video.
Yeah, because Professor Manfred is not only a professor. He not only gets academia, but he's also a very successful CEO of. We talked not so much about your company.
And an entrepreneur.
And an entrepreneur and a scientist. So
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor Manfred. Thank you very much, Dr. Florian. And let's see why CEOs, why businessmen, why executives must be at SIPS. I'm Mario Linhares, broadcasting from Rio de Janeiro. It was a pleasure being with you. See you next week at the SIPS of Science. Bye-bye.
Flogen meetings are unique in the sense that they combine science, engineering, and fun.
Here they talk science, they talk engineering, they talk technology.
And indeed the very relations between the science, the engineers and the politicians. That is a framework which is absolutely essential.
It's very important for me to understand how interact, let's say, the science with the sustainability and the social responsibility.
Your SIPS is very, very unique, different cultures, and all the people together, so that industry, chemistry, physics, something like that. I'm just a biologist, so it's really, really exciting.
The difference that SIPS provide is that the society here is a wide coverage of scientists, entrepreneurs, businessmen, engineers, and social responsibility related matters.
But here you see also mathematicians, biochemists, medical researchers, energy engineers. That is the extra part of the network we need to bring into this hybrid in order to harness the horsepower.
Deep work from scientists, the presentation. It's absolutely outstanding. I learned so many things and I still feel like a student.
The way people communicate, the way people connect, the way you get new ideas or new views of things is amazing actually.
Конференция создана товарищеская и доброжелательная обстановка. На конференции интересные уикенды.
Well, of course, it is a great honor for me to see the summit dedicated to 50 years of my research. However, it is also a great honor to many scientists, mathematicians, theoreticians, engineers, technicians, and so on who have participated and will be part of this summit. The importance of this summit is that it allows us to expose our effort to other engineers for criticism, for suggestion, for improvement.
It's more focused on the people who made contributions to this area. It's a multidisciplinary meeting which combines everything with sustainability.
Much better than I had envisioned, been very well organized in terms of having the plenary lectures first, various streams in mineral processing, which was mine.
Am I enjoying the conference? Yes, I met some good people, full of experience. There is no stress, no competitors around. It's a pleasure, so I'm relaxing. Thank you.
I would say that it couldn't be better. Excellent impression about this symposium. The attendance, the hotel, the city, 7 Nobel Prize laureates. My first time I could meet one.
To minimize the use of the resources and to keep as far as they can the lowest path in their activities. So this is an important initiative and I'm very proud to be part this year of this symposium.
First of all, something to be sustainable must be cost effective. See if these new inventions that we see here, let's say, can be applicable and to give back to the business the profit, because this is what we're talking about, to be friendly with people and to give back to the society what the businessman wants.
The impression that I have is extremely positive. So many different scientific and technological leaders of the field. You really truly have a knack for getting so many of these people together. The impression is extremely positive. Thank you very much for inviting me.